Good evening, my Nyctophiliacs. I'm Philianoctis, the Daughter of Darkness. Welcome back to Part 3 of the Poetry Potluck. The response thus far has been incredible. I feel blessed and honored to have been entrusted to put these videos together for you all. So now we come to the third course, and I hope you enjoy every single bite. I do hope you're still hungry for more yummy poetry. So sit back, close your eyes, and enjoy the comforts of the poetry.
Fairyland by Edgar Allan Poe. Dim vales and shadowy floods, and cloudy-looking woods, whose form we can't discover, for the tears that drip all over huge moons, their wax and wane. Again, 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 every moment of the night, forever changing places, and they put out the starlight with the breath from their pale faces, about 12 by the moon dial, one more flimsy than the rest, a kind which, upon trial, they have found to be the best, comes down, still down and down, with its center on the crown of a mountain's eminence, while its wide circumference in easy drapery falls, or hamlets or halls, whatever they may be, or the strange wood, or the sea, or spirits on the wing over every drowsy thing, and buries them up quite in a labyrinth of light. And then how deep, oh deep is the passion of their sleep. In the morning they arise, and their moony coverings is soaring in the skies, with the tempest as they toss, like almost anything, or a yellow albatross. They use that moon no more, for the same end as before. Vitiliscent attent, which I think extravagant. Its atomies, however, into a shower dissever, of which those butterflies of earth who seek the skies, and so come down again, never contented things, have brought a specimen upon their quivering wing.
Childe Roland to the Dark Tower Came by Robert Browning. Narrated by Tales from Oak Hill. My first thought was he lied in every word, that hoary cripple with malicious eye, askance to watch the workings of his lie, on mine and mouth scarce able to afford suppression of the glee that pursed and scored its edge at one more victim gained thereby. What else should he be set for with his staff? What, save to waylay with his lies, ensnare all travelers who might find him posted there, and ask the road? I guessed what skull-like laugh would break, what crutch gin writ my epitaph for past time in the dusty thoroughfare. If at his counsel I should turn aside, into that ominous tract which, all agree, hides the Dark Tower. Yet, acquiescently I did turn, and he pointed, neither pride, now hope rekindling at the end descried, so much as gladness that some end might be. For what with my whole world-wide wandering, what with my search drawn out through the years, my hope dwindled into a ghost not fit to cope with that obstuprescence joy success would bring. I hardly tried now to rebuke the spring my heart made, finding failure in its scope. As when a sick man very near to death seems dead indeed, and feels begin and end the tears, and takes the farewell of each friend, and hears one bit the other go, draw breath, freelier outside, since all is o'er, he saith, and the blow fallen no grieving can amend. When some discuss if near the other graves be room enough for this, and when a day suits best for carrying the corpse away, with care about the banners, scarves, and staves, and still the man hears all, and only craves, he may not shame such tender love and stay. Thus I had so long suffered in this quest, heard failure prophesied so oft been writ, so many times among the band, to wit, the knights who to the dark tower's search addressed their steps, that just to fail as they seemed best, and all the doubt was now, should I be fit? So, quiet as despair, I turned from him, that hateful cripple, out of his highway, into that path he pointed all the day. Had been a dreary one at best, and dim, was settling to its close, yet shot one grim, red leer to see the pain catch its estray. For mark, no sooner was I fairly found pledged to the plain after a pace or two, than pausing to throw backwards at last a view. O'er the safe road 'twas gone, grey plain all around, nothing but plain to the horizon's bound. I might go on, naught else remained to do. So on I went. I think I never saw such starved, ignoble nature, nothing throve for flowers, as well expect a cedar grove. But cockle, spurge, according to their law, might propagate their kind with none to awe. You'd think a burr had been a treasure trove. No, penury, inertness, and grimace, in some strange sort, were the land's portion. See or shut your eyes, said nature peevishly. It nothing skills. I cannot help my case. 'Tis the last judgment's fire must cure this place. Calcine, it clods and set my prisoners free. If there pushed any ragged thistle stalk above its mates, the head was chopped, the bents were jealous else. What made those holes and rents? In the dock's harsh swarth leaves, bruised as to the bulk, all hope of greenness, 'tis a brute must walk, pashing their life out with a brute's intents. As for the grass, it grew as scant as hair. In leprosy, thin dry blades pricked the mud, which underneath looked kneaded up with blood. One stiff, blind horse, his every bone a stare, stood stupefied. However he came there, thrust out past service from the devil's stud. Alive? He might be dead for aught I knew, with that red, gaunt, and calloped neck astrain, and shut eyes underneath that rusty mane. Seldom went such grotesqueness with such woe. I never saw a brute I hated so. He must be wicked to deserve such pain. I shut my eyes and turned them on my heart. As a man calls for wine before he fights, I asked one draught of earlier, happier sights. Ere fitly I could hope to play my part. Think first, fight afterwards, the soldier's art. One taste of the old times set to all the rights. Not it, I fancied Cuthbert's reddening face, beneath its garniture of curly gold. Dear fellow, till I almost felt him fold an arm to mine to fix me to the place, the way he used. Alas, one night's disgrace. Out went my heart's new fire, and left it cold. Giles, then, the soul of honor, there he stands, frank as 10 years ago when knighted first. What honest man should dare, he said, he durst. Good, but the scene shifts. What hangman hands, pinned to his breast a parchment, his own bands, read it, poor traitor, spit upon it, and cursed. Better this present than a past like that. Back, therefore, to my darkening path again. No sound, no sight, as far as I could strain. Will the night send a howlet or a bat? I asked, when something on the dismal flat came to arrest my thoughts and change their train. A sudden little river crossed my path, as unexpected as a serpent comes. No sluggish tide, congenial to the glooms. This, as it frothed by, might have been a bath for the fiend's glowing hoof to see the wrath of its black eddy bespate with flakes and spumes. so petty yet so spiteful all along. Low scrubby alders kneeled down over it. Drenched willows flung them headlong in a fit of mute despair, a suicidal throng. The river which had done them all the wrong, whate'er that was, rolled by, deterred no whit. Which while I forded, good saints, how I feared to set my foot upon a dead man's cheek, each step of field the spear I thrust to seek, for hallows tangled in his hair or beard. It may have been a water rat I speared, but it sounded like a baby's shriek. Glad was I when I reached the other bank, now for a better country, vain presage. Who were the strugglers? What war did they wage? Whose savage trample thus could pad the dank soil to a plash, toads in a poison tank, or wildcats in a red-hot iron cage? The fight must so have seemed in that fell cirque. What penned them there, with all the plain to choose? No footprint leading to that horrid mews, none out of it. Mad brewage set to work, their brains, no doubt, like galley slaves the Turk, pits for his pastime, Christians against Jews. And more than that, a furlong on, why there? What bad use was that engine for, that wheel? Or brake, not wheel, that harrow fit to reel men's bodies out like silk, with all the air of Tophet's tool on earth left unaware, or brought to sharpen its rusty teeth of steel. Then came a bit of stubbed ground, once a wood, next a marsh it would seem, and now mere earth, desperate and done with. So a fool finds mirth, makes a thing and then mars it till his mood changes and off he goes within a rude bog, clay and rubble, sand and stark black dearth. Now blotches rankling, colored gay and grim, now patches where some leanness of the soils broke into moss or substances like boils. Then came some palsied oak, a cleft in him, like a distorted mouth that splits its rim, gaping at death and dies while it recoils. And just as far as ever from the end, not in the distance but the evening, not, to point my footstep further at the thought, a great black bird, Apollyon's bosom friend, sailed past, not best his wide-winged dragon penned, that brushed my cap, perchance the guide I sought. For, looking up aware I somehow grew, spite of the dusk, the plain had given place all round to mountains with such name to grace, mere ugly heights and heaps now stolen in view. How thus they had surprised me, solve it, you. How to get from them was no clearer case. Yet half I seemed to recognize some trick of mischief happened to me, God knows when. In a bad dream, perhaps. Here ended, then, progress this way, when in the very nick of giving up one time more came a click, as when a trap shuts, you're inside the den. Burningly, it came to me all at once. This was the place. Those two hills on the right, crouched like two bulls locked horn in fight, while to the left a tall scalped mountain, dunce, dotard, a dozing at the very nonce, after a life spent training for the sight. What in the midst lay but the tower itself, the round squat turret, blind at the fool's heart, built of brown stone without a counterpart in the whole world. The tempest's mocking elf points to the shipman thus, the unseen shelf. He strikes on only when the timbers start. Not see, because of night perhaps, why day came back again for that. Before it left, the dying sunset kindled through a cleft. The hills, like giants at a hunting, lay, chin upon hand, to see the game at bay. Now stab, and end the creature, to the heft. Not here, when noise was everywhere, it toiled, increasing like a bell. Names in my ears of all the lost adventurers, my peers. How such a one was strong, and such was bold, and such was fortunate, yet each of old lost. One moment knelled the woe of years, and there they stood, ranged along the hillsides met to view the last of me, a living frame, for one more picture. In a sheet of flame, I saw them and I knew them all, and yet dauntless the slughorn to my lips I set, and blew Childe Roland to the dark tower came.
The Darkness by P.A. Nightmares. I toss and turn in my bed. Sleep only brings dread. My dreams, they are left to rot. The days of sleep are not. Sleep refuses to come to thee. Warmth's embrace, a distant memory. In the bite of the early morning, she didn't bark. She traveled to a destination to meet with her creator. Alas, she never made it to see her. While her most cherished possession did lie in his bed, he dreamt only of his worst dread, while he was carrying out his daily duties. Delivered unto he the news that would shatter his eternity. Shaken to his very core, his world meant nothing anymore. He would never be the same again. Where once was color, it was now doomed to fade. His world is gray, and he is jaded. His heart is cold, and that smile has faded. Now he sits alone in his lifeless house. Only darkness remains in his heart. His soul is torn and left to rot. This boy feels not. In his new existence, emotions are not. This world that has been created is his own personal prison, and he cannot escape from his tormented existence.
Silent Fright, written and narrated by Mandy Mortem. Silent fright, unholy night. All is not calm, all is not bright. Say your prayers, both mother and child. When carnage starts, corpses lay defiled. Sleep, eternal sleep. Sleep and eternal sleep.
It's standing in front of the stairs now. As I sit beside my door, it sniffs the air before the prowl, then continues to walk once more. A foot above the first step, the house weeps and groans. A soft click and the hum from a spring as a bullet slides in its home. The second ledge is smooth to the touch, most polished above others and all. It endured but one ghastly scratch from his dull and dirty claw. The third threatened to foil the intruder, bending under its weight, but was short of a pebble for it to tear asunder. Such a tasteless humor of fate. On the fourth was a thump, heavy and reverbing. It resembled a gaunt human heart pounding. It traveled inside the wood, up the walls and into my room. A beat that pierced my very blood, a gong signal for my doom. The fifth board gave a crackle when it met a jostling drive. I could feel the whole house rumble and rattle. Every plank shook and writhed. Soft was a tap on the sixth and seventh, quick to land and fade. Like the weighty girth of the corporeal revenant, turned to a vaporous wraith. Spared was the eighth from the madness of the dark, but do not haplessly mistake obliviousness for luck. That which fly over your head are most sinister and vile. Dread is a miasma, preferring distance over tactile. A thunderous boom forced me on my feet. The silence that I whiffed clearly meant no reprieve. forget the respite you think you will find. Just ask the wreck and ruin of the 9th. Not a moment later was a bang on the 10th. In the last of the steps it made clear its intent. No crickets, no wind, all sound met cessation, giving way to the long and overdue fulguration. Towards my door it makes a final streak. I take my turn to inhale its reek. Rot that is not from death and decay, but of primordial despair and utter dismay. I walked forward to the cold slab of timber, unholed, battered and reflectionless mirror. Beyond it the thing stands, a grinning black hole, an abyss of suffering and stories untold. The row of knives in its maw, they salivate and peak. The row of lead in my palm, fly and shriek.
The Puppet Master by M.D. Who. Laugh cheerfully from your painted smile, hide unpredictable sorrow. Live life for today, wish for no tomorrow. Clean hair and clean clothes, posture like a king. Fold your hands behind your back to hide your puppet strings. I'll tell you of no reason to live until my words will smother. You'll be the lonely marionette, and never mind the others. Think nothing else but what I tell you. Speak what I want you to say. Lie to them when they ask what's wrong. Tell them that you're okay. Hang yourself from the strings I pull you. Dive inside a little faster. Look up at me, and then you'll see you are puppet and puppet master. You'll fight back and snap your strings. I'll let you go for now. I'll let you pull me like a doll, now that you've learned how.
The Carnival by Josie Kitty. In the midst of finding my own sense of happiness and in search of myself, I abruptly discover my dreams quietly being placed on a shelf. For there is something far more sinister occurring in the atmosphere, something out of my control, filling me with dread and fear. I appear to be riding a roller coaster, I discover when I open my eyes, not one to be enjoyed, but one to be despised. High above the clouds, where the air is so thin, barely catching my breath becomes my only win. With each dip and jarring turn, relief or peace I pray for, I yearn. Then just as quickly I become transported, but comfort and solace soon become thwarted. Staring back at me, my own reflection, a funhouse of mirrors in all directions. Panic ensuing and confusion on which way to go. My heart racing for fear of the unknown. A cloud of smoke and a figure appears. His gaze so ominous begins grinding my gears. Rushing to exclaim, "How have I sinned?" He only stared and slightly grinned. "This is not your carnival," bluntly he stated, "although it will be so much more than you ever anticipated. The mind of your own blood," he explained, "is what he hunted. His reality will slip, his personal growth stunted. My weapon will be his weakness, of which I gain control. First, I'll acquire his mind, and then I own his soul. The tears begin to flow as an image of my sibling appears. Within my own reflection, this despair I grieve, it rears. Shaking my head in protest, I grasp for fleeting words. But before a response emerges, the lights begin to surge. And with a few flickers, the blackness envelops me, and I feel the floor become unstable. From this unpredictability, I want to be free. I find myself on a boat as light sprouts before me. A black heart-shaped tunnel. The boat journeys freely. Creatures of all kinds line the edge of this amusement ride. Grotesque beasts and critters, my eyes wide and terrified. My focus shifts to the rough waters ahead, tossing the boat about, sending me deeper into this tunnel, a frighteningly treacherous route. But just as the turbulence finds me unsteady, a realization occurs in my mind. It had been there this whole time, sitting in wait for me to find. These images, as real as they may have seemed, were only delusions meant to confuse. And I suddenly found strength. This warped reality I chose to refuse. My bravery gaining momentum, and I dove into the water. I would not be the clay. I would claim my right as the potter. I was once again transported to land dry as a bone. A menacing figure stood before me, but somehow it felt like home. Wearing an evil clown mask, his gaze fixated, I took 3 steps towards him. His emotions like a blanket felt weighted. The urge to uncover this clown's identity came over me rapidly, and I grasped at the mask, ever so swiftly and ever so tactfully. And to my dismay, I unearthed the mysterious man. It was none other than my sibling, looking confused and overran. This world had been his, made up in the depths of his brain. Reality lost for a moment, but not impossible to regain. I sprang forward to hug him tight as he wept and wept. I will never give up on you, whispering as my heart leapt. For all those fighting a battle inside, feeling forgotten or unseen. There are so many who love you, standing forever beside you, fighting against this mind-maddening machine.
The Kingdom of Colors by M.D. Who. Once upon a time, a long time ago, beyond the black forest and the mountains of snow, there once was a kingdom that lived in the sun where everyone was happy, all except one. Tucked away in a castle of ivory and stone was a sad little princess who sat all alone. She smiled for the citizens and for her mom and dad, but deep in her heart she still felt so sad. "We'll find you a prince and then you'll be happy," her mother said as she called for the lackey. She was dressed in gold slippers and a blue silken gown. She looked so elegant even with her sad frown. Princes came from across the land, all hoping to win the princess's hand, but she turned them away one by one. She didn't like any of them, not one. Then one day the queen announced with glee that her friend and her daughter were coming for tea. The queen greeted her friend when they came to the door. Then the princess saw beauty she never saw before. A vision in yellow that made her heart flutter, and the vision of beauty was her mother's friend's daughter. She made her laugh, she made her smile, she made her feel like her life was worthwhile. She gave her life, she gave her hope. She no longer felt a reason to mope. She couldn't help herself, her question was unplanned. Said the princess in blue, "May I hold your hand?" The princess in yellow smiled so sweetly, folding her hand in hers ever so neatly. The princess in yellow and the princess in blue had fallen for each other, and their love was true. But the queens had caught them, they made such a fuss. They wrinkled their noses and shrieked with disgust. The citizens rejected them, and the king gave an ultimatum. Either choose a prince, or be banished from the kingdom. To leave home she feared her life would be destroyed, but she couldn't give up the one who had given so much joy. So the king banished them, with no regard to their distress, because his daughter's charming was not a prince, but a princess. Together they shivered through the mountains of snow, as icy winds billowed through the valleys below. Together they ran from the wolves of the black forest when they heard the howling sound of their chorus. Tired and hungry, together they cried. Then the princess in yellow dried her princess's eyes. "Look," she cried, as she pointed through the wood. "We made it through the forest. I didn't think that we could." She took the hand of the princess in blue to the edge of the forest to show her it was true. On the other side was a kingdom they had never seen. The sun shone even brighter, and there was so much green. They emerged from the forest and saw smiling faces from people dressed in colors that had come from all places. Their eyes gleamed with joy like glittering gems when they saw that some couples were just like them. The citizens told them there was a price for their freedom, for they too had been banished, each from their own kingdoms. The castle was decorated with colors they'd never seen when they went to pay homage to the king and to the queen. The king and queen were a lovely pair. They fed them and bathed them and combed their hair. This new kingdom they had found was full of hope, love, and laughter, and together the princesses lived happily ever after.
Cries of the Damned, a poem by Reaper's Horror. The devil continues to spread his wicked lies across the once beautiful plains, corrupting all that listen, reducing them to mindless drones, an army of repeaters to further advance his message. A message so twisted, so vile, it brings tears to sightless eyes, blood flows from deaf ears, bodies quake with starvation, hands tremble with fear as they reach toward the heavens, ever seeking salvation. But it does not come. For the Lord knows of their pain. He hears their cries, yet he looks the other way. For these are the cries of the damned. In life they turn their back on him, and so, reluctantly, he now does the same to them.
Inner Turmoil, written by Pixie Styxx, narrated by Philianoctis. I've spent a lifetime dealing with depression and self-hatred, an ocean of love I can't reach. I'm only human, the queen of disorder. My sins are carved into my flesh, locked up in this place of mine. Nowhere for me to hide. Dark thoughts cross my mind. Made friends with suicides. Pills to make me happy. Pills to make me numb. Pills to make me normal. Screaming in my mind. Nowhere for me to hide.
This is The Mask by PA Nightmares. Do you know who I am? Because I don't. Through my day-to-day life, I wear this mask with a fake smile plastered permanently on my face. My life feels like a masquerade. I go from mask to mask, but when I get home, I drop the facade. I go and hide from this deep hurt inside. Around my family, I act as if life is grand, and I have nothing to hide. But this mask is the only thing I have to keep me feeling safe from the outside. But alone, late at night, the mask crumbles and falls aside. I let the real me come out and cry. I scream for help with my eyes. But when anyone asks me how I am, I say, I am fine. I lack trust on the inside, so I built these walls to keep me safe from the outside. On the outside, I have built an illusion of someone who is happy. These masks that I wear are just another wall that I've built up and you can't tear down. Safety is the only thing I think of. If I let someone in, they will take pieces of my heart, and I can't let them do that. I have nothing left to give, and all they want to do is take what little is left of me. No one stays around for long. Abandonment issues, yeah, they are strong. So I sit and isolate myself from the world and just hide in my safe place I have created. You may get me to open up sometimes, but my secrets, I'll never give up. They are the only thing I have left that I hold dear inside. My masks fall off just as easy as if you were opening up just another babushka doll. Nothing is real except the emptiness inside of me. You say you know me, but the secrets, they are the only thing I think of. Because the second you get one mask to fall away, 3 more take its place. So just leave. I know you want to, and I'll just be here, because where else can I go?
The Passing. Written by Beautiful Nightmare. Narrated by Alternative Night. It began with an idea, absurd and not normal. Yet, the more I thought, the more I was troubled. I paced across the bedroom floor. I paced until I could walk no more. These thoughts, so damned but true. These thoughts I knew I needed to complete soon. I waited for more than a day. I waited until the sky had turned grey. A blade pressed into live flesh, gliding along my exposed porcelain skin. Liquid oozed from the wound. Liquid oozed as my skin turned blue. The knife, it fell out of my hand and landed into the small silver pan. There I stood, all pale and blue. My eyes glazed over like frost-covered dew. My body was there, laying on the floor. While I was standing here just before, blood covered the entirety of the floor. Blood covered all of that and more. I watched as it seeped through the boards. I watched as it stained extension cords. Relief had washed over me sooner than expected. Relief had unsettled me before I objected. Pain, it struck heavier than a feather. pain. It struck like untethered leather. Grief crept into the depths of my soul. Grief crept into me like a black hole. Denial set in like a dog gone wild. Denial set in, yet it was only mild. Anger soon came, with only a thought. Anger soon came, like it had been bought. Bargaining came next, like an overfilled bowl. Bargaining came next, like it was something I could control. Depression then came. It was quickly uprising. Depression then came. It was rather surprising. Acceptance was last. This was impure. Acceptance was last, and my fate was secured. The low feeling never fades. The low feeling aids. Death happens within a moment. Death happens even when you're broken. The veil is now thin, like a line unhinged. The veil is crossed, glass covered with frost. The passing began as soon as the first thought. The passing began and could not be stopped. The passing, it came all too slow. It took some time, but there was no hope. The passing, it happened like a blade in the wind. The passing, it happened, and now is the end.
The moon is dark tonight. The veil grows thin. The air is heavy with promise and whispers of the coming winter. The hunters run tonight, hot-blooded and high-spirited. The dark is calling them, calling me. Tonight, the wild hunt holds court, and you are either one of the hunters, or you become one of the hunted.
I'm Nobody. Who Are You? By Emily Dickinson. Recited by Madame Raven. I'm nobody. Who are you? Are you nobody too? Then there's a pair of us. Don't tell. They'd advertise, you know. How dreary to be somebody. How public, like a frog. To tell one's name the livelong June to an admiring bog.
Happy Independence Day by M.D. Who. The sun is shining, but the sky is crying. I'll grant you a smile, but inside I'm dying. Tonight the bombards will blast away in celebration of the somber day. For centuries ago on this day, we wished America happy birthday with bayonets and fire sticks in 1776. Broken bodies and broken hearts tore countless families apart in this land and in the other of the one we had previously called brother. Eagerly families awaited port, hoping and praying to see that their loved ones were not a casualty of a desperate king's last resort. Some were relieved, some heartbroken, still could do nothing, for the king had spoken. Our blood still ran hot, but with enemy vanquished, we found enemies amongst ourselves and caused our own anguish. We waged war against the natives of this land who, in our time of need, offered compassionate hands. We exploited their kindness countless times until they were reduced to nothing, as savages will. We waged war against womenfolk who weren't useless and daft, and accused and burned them for practicing witchcraft. We waged war against immigrants and people of color and those who are sisters that were once our brothers. And the war wages on, even today, as we celebrate our Independence Day. We've chosen the freedom to hate over the freedom to love, forgetting that we were all created by God above. How long will we quarrel amongst ourselves? How long will we rot in our man-made hell? So with tears in my eyes, I bid you to say, I love you, and Happy Independence Day.
Dulce et Decorum Est by Wilfred Owen. Read by Dr. Creepin. Bend double, like old beggars under sacks. Knock-kneed, coughing like hags, we cursed through sludge, till on the haunting flares we turned our backs, and towards our distant rest began to trudge. Men marched asleep, many had lost their boots, but limped on, bloodshot. All went lame, all blind, drunk with fatigue, deaf even to the hoots of gas shells dropping softly behind. Gas, gas, quick boys, an ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmets just in time, but someone was still yelling out and stumbling, and floundering like a man in fire or lime. Dim through the misty panes and thick green light, as under a green sea, I saw him drowning. In all my dreams before my helpless sight, he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. If in some smothering dreams you too could pace behind the wagon that we flung him in, and watch the white eyes writhing in his face, his hanging face, like a devil's sick of sin. If you could hear at every jolt the blood come gargling from the froth of corrupted lungs, obscene as cancer, bitter as the cud, the vile, incurable sores on innocent tongues, my friend, you would not tell with such high zest to children ardent from some desperate glory the old lie. Dulce decorum est, pro patria mori.
Fucking hell.
Been waiting a long time to read that one. Damn.
Untitled. Written by Pixie Styxx. Narrated by Teestache. Scorn from above, we live more than once. As torchlights rush, in the end you know the life we live lays out on a grid. Pointed peaks, gentle curves, downward we spin. As I look upon my future self, I see a new kind of hell. The parts I've tried to save are now the ones I've excised. In all our hopes and sacrifice, I see your dying light. With one last gasp and a late embrace, the last breath you took is the breath I now take.
Eternal torment in the underworld. An eternity of death, written by As the Noose Titans, narrated by the Skylab. I have done terrible things. Not to only the ones I love, but also to those I don't even know. Instead of repenting and seeking forgiveness for my sins, I let the guilt and memories eat away at my conscience. The human mind betrays the heart, insisting that you do not deserve forgiveness for your wrongdoings. I lay on my deathbed, watching family and friends come and go, trying to offer love and comfort to the person they love while having no idea what evil crimes I have committed. I close my eyes in my final minutes and wait for the devil to take me. I fall into a pit of despair, longing for my life to finally be over, but alas, it never will be. I fall to the center of the earth and watch as my skin boils. The searing heat is melting the skin from my muscle and bones, trapping my soul for all eternity in hell. I feel the flames licking at my body as they sear the mark of the damned into my flesh. I feel the burning pain of hell's fire throughout my immortal vessel. My mortal body has been put to rest in the ground, while my body in the afterlife is punished for the transgressions I have committed. I hear all of the other sinners around me, begging and pleading for their punishment to be over. The deafening volume of the people around me drowns out the screams of my own. The pleas fall upon deaf ears as we continue to suffer our eternal torment in the underworld.
You my home. We weren't alone. In the forest he hid. He kept you secluded from a beautiful world. Poems by Moonlight Owls, narrated by Curious Raven. 1. It's sometimes sad to be alone. You think you're scared of me. All the headlines you'll see, it's true but indeed are reality. I'm sure you were curious on what made me famous. It was not my intentions. My true obsession, labeled a stalker by society. But now that I have you locked up here with me, just to no longer be alone. 2. Accept reality? How am I supposed to be fine? Go ahead, swallow their pride. Face first down on the ground. Stay sound while you keep kicking them down. The air is gone, they're losing all sounds. The beating of my accelerated heart, all the pain that now surrounds. What happened that unfortunate night? Did they survive? Let it be just a simple nightmare. Accept reality. Turn back the hands of time to send them smile, to see them alive. 3. Freedom rise, night skies. Wonder who's ready to lie. You ran afar, I stay afloat. Tell me what for. The deeper we go, the more we sink. Wait for me, I wait for him. Tell me who was here first. The pain in him, the pain in me. So I ask, what for? 4. Tell me if you're hurting inside. But it's more than pain. Now we're not the same. Respectively, treated differently. Now I hurt so deep within. But what you see isn't what I show. Call it childish schemes. Turn a blind eye. But when it's you, we need to take some time. Understand and not turn a blind eye. 5. In the dark, lonely town, Miss Melanie was different. She was wicked. In the cold, cruel sound, Miss Melanie was serious. She was curious. No one dare enter that house. Miss Melanie had secrets. Can you keep them? 6. The sickness is me, according to you. The poison took me, but I come to life. I burn in flames. You let it just die. The ashes rise. the fear in my eyes, the smoke taking flight. You blame me all the time. The sickness is me, according to you. The poison took me, but it was you all this time. I leave you behind, so I come to life. 7. I say you'll regret it. Now I welcome you to the darkest minds. My mind wasn't yours to toy with, but you played along, picked on my fresh scabs, thought it was funny, and put up a good fight. Didn't listen to my warning. Now I welcome you to my darkest mind. Regardless of all, I am who I am now, because you unleashed my darkest side. 8. So tell me if you're hurting. Tell me if you're crying. I'm not sure if you're lying. I'm wondering if you're hiding. Tell who was trying. If things are all of a sudden changing, tell me I'm not crazy. I still say we're hazing, sending me mixed signals. Green light, red light, but we're stuck and stick to the yellow light. Stop now, don't come closer. I feel you on my shoulders. Boulders, build me a wall, build me all the walls, all high enough to leave me out, and all alone. 9. Broken dreams, movement don't go accordingly to me. It seems she's different. They don't see or ignore it. It's hard to see she smiles, but she lies, she rather live in disguise. Some may say she hates, some may say she has it all. Or does she have it all, when the surface is all you see? Turn away, never see, in plain sight and full view. But you will never see, nor would I have ever seen. But I'm a nobody, so I saw, I noticed. In the mirrors is where I saw a smile. That's a mask to hide the frown from the world, because the girl in the mirror doesn't smile anymore. Would you like to know who the girl in the mirror was? Don't worry, it's not me. The girl in the mirror was a homecoming queen. 10. Feelings within. I feel the fears within. I heard her screams and the innocence that lived within. Rose-colored liquid drained from me. See the innocence that forms in me too. Wash away my pain. The criminal is now in front of me. Mirrors never hide the lies within. Told me an eye for an eye is what made him send for you. Now my sins will follow me. Was the one who let him in. And no matter what I try, I can't seem to see the reality inside. Emily's name was the soul I killed away. I still let him take the blame. Emily's screams still echo in my mental maze. But the secret was not let out. She let him take me years ago. She let him take my innocence away. Now I am the ghost that won't be faded away. Emily was my name. 11. She's the midnight moonlight. I heard her whispers in the night. Feel her warmth always by my side. Maybe I'm finally cracked and lost my mind. She travels only at night when the moon is full, while her aura is higher than the moon. Under the owl's guidance on the light of the moon, I can sense the sweet smell that is you. Find another taste different from her addicted kind. Her scent hasn't left my mind. The moon will always lead me back to you. 12. Emily? Who was Emily? She ran real far in the dangers of the enemy. Emily? Escaping was phase 1. Let's see if you can escape your own sad tragedy. Do you mean Emily? Errors were done twice for the minute you sent, stuck in his memory. Emily? Yes, the rotting corpse that was hidden behind the shallow walls. Do you remember Emily? Yes, because I am Emily, and you were the death of me. Now I haunt the hollow halls, live forever in your memory. Sweet young Emily. 13. The community remembers well. Her cold body is stuck on my brain. Visions of her never escape. But I didn't even pull the trigger. But I know who the kidnapper was. But I still sat there silently. Murder for you, it's just a game. As for me, this makes me sick. I'm always here to blame, because I knew you took her away. Keep away in our basement, acted like a fool in front of you. Maybe you think I didn't know. Deep inside, I hid a lie. I'm the criminal in plain sight. This just to keep you out alive. Melanie was her name. My wife killed Melanie Lane. 14. Haunted by past lovers. What lovers? Just a simple imagination turned into an intoxication, a guilty obsession, well thought out plan turned into tragedy. Now you no longer here with me. I'm afraid and alone, in a cell all alone, though I would make you my home. We weren't alone. In the forest he hid. He kept you secluded from a beautiful world.
Thank you, my Nyctophiliacs, for attending the Poetry Potluck 2020. Please caress the like button, share the video on social media, and subscribe to the wonderful content creators. Creepy Clown Girl and I would like to thank our participants, narrators, and authors. Mr. X Dreams, Reaper's Horror, Mr. Hyde, Josie Kitty, Jar 19, Scream With Me, PA Nightmare, Baron Von Pasta, Azazel Codex, Madame Raven, Mandy Mortem, Spook You, Curious Raven, Dr. Creepin, Ram Muerto, Grim Creeper, Muse Ingenue, MD Who, Alternative Night, Tim Duran, Creepy Pastaadam, Tales from Oak Hill, Deviljack, Mr. Black Pasta, Teestache, Monsters in My Mind, Pumpkin Queen, Goodnight Goosebumps, Disturbed K, Gothic Librarian, Sociopathic Pasta, As the Raven Dreams, As the Clock Strikes 3, Evil Outcast, Quipster Puck, Breaker Breaker 19, The Crow Flies, Creepy Clown Girl, Just Plain Creepy, Papa Scare, Vidith 22, Mia Mina, Lunar Lucy, Lost Case, The Scare Lab, Pixie Styxx, As the Noose Tightens, Beautiful Nightmares, Bunny B03, and I Bow Ties and Fezzes. If I have missed anyone, I sincerely apologize. Thank you, my Nyctophiliacs, for attending the Poetry Potluck 2020. Please caress the like button, share the video on social media, and subscribe to the wonderful content creators. Creepy Clown Girl and I would like to thank our participants, narrators, and authors. Mr. X Dreams, Reaper's Horror, Mr. Hyde, Josie Kitty, Jar 19, Scream With Me, PA Nightmare, Baron Von Pasta, Azazel Codex, Madame Raven, Mandy Mortem, Spook You, Curious Raven, Dr. Creepin, Ram Muerto, Grim Creeper, Muse Ingenue, MD Who, Alternative Night, Tim Duran, Creepy Pastaadam, Tales from Oak Hill, Deviljack, Mr. Black Pasta, Teestache, Monsters in My Mind, Pumpkin Queen, Goodnight Goosebumps, Disturbed K, Gothic Librarian, Sociopathic Pasta, As the Raven Dreams, As the Clock Strikes 3, Evil Outcast, Quipster Puck, Breaker Breaker 19, The Crow Flies, Creepy Clown Girl, Just Plain Creepy, Papa Scare, Vidith 22, Mia Mina, Lunar Lucy, Lost Case, The Scare Lab, Pixie Styxx as the Noose Titans, Beautiful Nightmares, Bunny B03, and Eye Bow Ties and Fezzes. If I have missed anyone, I sincerely apologize.